Hey everybody, this is Deb with Concept Crochet, and today's concept we're going to be dealing with a theme and variations on what I call the XO pattern. And as you can see, there's a little X here among the O's that we have. So this is a motif, and what I'm going to show you is how to do this motif, and then I'm going to show you possible variations on it, because once you have one idea of how this works, then you can change it up just slightly and it can end up being a totally different look. Now this is actually a reversible pattern. It's not exactly reversed, but it's close, because you can see here that it's a little lower on this one, whereas you have it higher on this. So there you go. But this is what we're going to be doing. Here's another example of it. This one is in brown, and this one is not exactly reversible. It looks a little different on the back. As you can see here, I didn't do the X's with this, and I just did a regular chain. So that gives it a different look in case you want that too. So this is what we're going to be working on, and I'm going to show you how to do the motif, and then I'm going to show you some possible variations. And as you can see, this is a little bit different in the variation too. It's more like the back of the other one. So let's get going on this. Okay, to make an afghan the same colors as I did on this one, I used a red heart Super Saver Jumbo, and that is 744 yards or 681 meters. It took an entire roll plus part of another. This is what I had left from this one, and you can see I didn't use very much of the white here on this. And this is just white, okay? It's just the color white. That's all it is. This one is also Super Saver, Red Heart Super Saver, and it's only 364 yards. That's 333 meters, and the color on this one is light blue, and I actually used only one of these and had just a tad left over. But I'm going to tell you that I crochet tightly, so that means that if you're more of a looser crocheter, you probably will want to make sure that you have this extra one just in case, because you know, things happen, and I didn't have very much of this left over. Now this one, when I do the demonstration, I'm not going to use this because for some bizarre reason this one has 3 tails that come off of it, 3 strings, and none of them come from the end. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do on that one. I've never had that before in my entire life. Okay, and then this last one, this is all I have left of the second skein of this, and I used Red Heart Super Saver Stripes, and that is 236 yards and 215 meters there on that. The color on this one, I really liked how this came out, is Cool Stripe. But obviously you can use whatever colors you want. As you saw with the brown one, I used different colors on that too. All right, so we're going to get started, and I'm going to show you, but I'm going to demonstrate with the stripe and the white since I can't figure out the blue yet. So, all right, let's get started. Now, since this is Concept Crochet, I'm going to kind of tell you the concepts of what I'm doing as we go, so you can get an idea of how that could be applied to another project. Okay, we're going to start out first of all with a chain and then a single crochet row, just to give us our base before we start the actual pattern. And we're going to do this in the background color, whatever color you want as the background, and then the X's will be the other color. I'm going to use the stripe thing for that particular one since I can't figure out the 3-strand blue one yet. Anyway, okay, we're going to start out here, and we're just going to do a regular row of chains. Now we have to do multiples of 7, and then we have to do 3 of them for the ending, and then we have to do 1 that's a turning chain for the single crochet. So I'm going to do 3 sets, that's 21, and then I'm going to add 3, that'd be 24, and then I have the turning chain, which is 25. So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, there's the row we start with. Now we go from, you know, not the one that's on the hook, of course, and then we go here. You can do the back hook, the back loop if you want to. It's up to you. I don't care. So when you do a border, it's going to fill out whatever you don't use, so it doesn't really matter. This isn't going to be your outer edge. So anyway, it'll be 6 of one, half a dozen of another, whichever you use. But we just do a single crochet row all the way across. I'll catch you up at the end. Alright, now we're at this point. Don't pull through on that very last one. We want to start another color here, our second color. This will be for the X's that go across. So we pull through, and then you can put a slip knot in that if you want to. Some people do, some people don't. But we'll be doing all of our changes over on this side. This is the concept. The concept is that all changes will happen over here where you have your original tail. That's where everything will happen. When we do the border will cover over as we're pulling things up. So you can just kind of tighten it up a little bit. Don't pull too tight on it, but chain one. And then we're going to turn it, because our first row, as we do the blue part or the X's, we're going to do 3 single crochets, and then we're going to do our chain, 3 single crochets and our chain. That's pretty much how this one goes. So we do first single crochet. You have to pardon me, I've got a plastic hook here because my cats did something with my regular one. I think it's under the bed. I haven't looked for it yet. So it sticks a little bit more than the metal ones. Alright, so we do 3 single crochets, and now we're going to do some chains so that we can use a space here, leave a space. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains. Now on the one that I did 8, and I think that was a little bit loose. So then we're going to skip 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different stitches. In the 5th stitch, actually, we're skipping 4. And in the 5th stitch, we're going to do a single crochet, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. Okay. Then we do 7 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains. And then we put it in the 5th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the 5th stitch. We do a single crochet and 2 more to keep it company. You don't want it sitting there by itself, huh? It will get lonely. Alright, and then we do the same thing again. We do 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and we count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you did it right, if you can count right, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it keeps slipping out. Not the same as the metal, that's for sure. 1, 2, and on this first row, this last one is going to be kind of sideways, just a little bit. Don't worry, it's there. Make sure you get it. Okay, so you have 3. So you began with 3 and you ended with 3. Now, however many you make yours, you know, however long you want the thing to be, that's what you're going to do. And remember, it's a multiple of 7 because you have 3 plus 4. There's 4 stitches here. So 3 plus 4, that's 7. And then you have to have an extra 3 at the end. And then, like I said, for the first row, you're going to have that turning chain, so 1. If you want to make this a double crochet, then you would have a turning chain of 2 or 3, depending on how you do your endings. And that way, you would just add those onto the chain, and you could do it like that. So it's up to you what you want to do on that. But anyway, that's what we've got so far. Not too bad. That's what we're working on. All right, so then what do we do at this point? Now, the concept on this one is that everything goes in 2s. So each color will go in 2s. 2 rows. 1 row over, 1 row back. So you'll always have them in 2s. So I like to just do 2 here because it kind of fills it out better at the end, I think, when you do that. But if you do that kind of thing, now we're going to do a double crochet. I like to put the double crochet here. So if you don't mind working in chains, you can just chain up 3 and use that as your starting one. But I think it leaves a gap. So in my opinion, it does. All right, we're ignoring this. This is not anything, it's just to kind of fill it out. Then we have two double crochets here, and we need one more because we need to fill this out. So the 3 single crochets from the last row, we have 3 double crochets now. Now, at this point, this is where you can decide whether you want to be like the brown one where it just goes straight across. I did 5 chains and then did a double crochet here, but I'm going to do X's on both sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this time we're doing a double crochet. If you hang on to that, it kind of keeps it from sliding around, especially on a plastic hook. Yes, I can't afford another hook. My Joann Fabrics was out of the size of hook because everybody and his brother's been crocheting during the pandemic, I guess. So anyway, that's what you've got. You've got a crochet here, a double crochet here, and a double crochet here. All right. Okay, and that's what we're doing all the way across. We do 7 chains, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains. Yeah, this other one, the stripes, is at the point where it's really difficult. I really should just roll it up, but I want to try to see if I can keep it this way until I get done. All right, and then we're doing a double crochet in that single crochet, all 3 of them, and that's what we do all the way across. Pretty easy pattern, not hard at all. And then we do it one more time, however many times you have to do it. Obviously, you'll be doing it however many times it takes for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't count and talk at the same time. So anyway, all right, 3 double crochets to be ending the row, and 2 and 3. Now, this is the end of using the blue, the stripe color. So now we're going to change over to the white. We're going to change back. I hate tails. I don't know about the rest of you, but I hate tails. So I am just going to carry this up. Make sure that when you carry it up, especially a little bit longer than just a single row, you need to make sure you don't pull it too tight, because if you pull it too tight, it'll scrunch this side up. And then just, all right. Now at this point, our concept is, what we have to do is we need to go through and we're going to drop down this white. We're going to, where there's the double crochets that we just did, we're going to do single crochets in those, and then we're going to drop down in between these two. This is where it gets fun. Okay, we're going to drop down in between these two, and we want to keep it about the same height as what we're doing here. So we use either a long double crochet or a triple crochet. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. But I am going to do triple crochets because mine fit in there. If yours doesn't quite fit, you might want to try to do a loose double and see if that works. But then we're going to, every time we have the 3 here that we had set apart, that's going to be a single crochet, and then again in between. That's the trick, getting in between here. So let's do that. We did our turning chain, and we're going to do a single crochet in that first stitch there. Kind of tighten things a little bit, especially the blue. We can, you know, kind of pull that a little bit. So, and again, we're just doing single crochets here because we are going to need the height in just a minute. All right, so we're going to need the height. So here we are. Now this is where it's going to get tricky. We do a triple crochet, which is putting your you're wrapping this twice, okay, and then you're going to go in between. Now I use the bottom one is going to be the front and the top one is going to be the back. So what you do is you reach down in between the two, and if I found that if you pinch this and pull it out like this, then it makes it easier. And you just finish off your triple crochet then. Okay, then we're going to do it again. Wrap twice, go through, pull through two, pull through two, pull through two, do it again. There should be 4 of these total in here. Oops. Okay, so then we've got 1 on each side, the blue chain on one side, the blue chain on the other side, and then here we're just going to do 3 single crochets. That holds it in place, gives us just a little bit there, and that's what we end up with. Okay, and on the back, same thing. It looks very similar. The only difference you're going to find with this pattern on the back is that this is coming out of this top here, and which will be the bottom actually, and then this is coming out of this side. So one's a little higher than the other. You'll find that. All right, so now we're here at the next one. We wrap our hook twice. We push the top one to the back and the bottom one to the front, and then pinch it, because really you don't want to get into the one where that blue already is. You don't want to get in there. You want to get into the first stitch. There should be 4. If there's not 4, frog it and redo it. No, there are ways. If you mess up, there are ways to, just add in an extra one, do 2 in 1, or if there's not, you can adjust it if you have to, if you make mistakes without any extreme problems. Okay, so it doesn't look really too bad if you have to adjust it that way. If you have to add in an extra stitch, or if you have to take one out. Do a 2 together, and you can take one out if you have to. Because it happens, folks. It happens. And the problem with this, when you're doing this, you wouldn't know, like this white, I didn't know until I got the 2 blue rows on there. So, yeah. And then we do single crochets. Whoops, that's only under 1. Make sure when you do this, you get both of them, both strands. Well, me and my plastic hook aren't doing that great, are we? Yes, I do crochet. But you kind of have to crochet it at an awkward angle when you're doing it on camera. So I've never done this before on camera. Okay, so there we go. There we've got those. All right, let's do the last one for me. I'll do it with you, and then I'll show you what to do when you get to the end of your row. Wrap twice. Get in there and find that. They should be white, because that's another concept. The white will go into white, the blue goes into blue. So, when you're doing this, the background always goes into the background. Okay, and then it looks kind of weird when you're at this point. It looks really weird, but just do that single crochet across, and it pulls it together. Now, we're not changing color because this is the first row across. Remember, every color goes across twice, once down and once back. But at this point, we've got our first part done, and it has this little loop here now, and we have that on both sides, so we're getting ready for what we have to do when we get ready for the next part. So let's go ahead. We're going to do, this is probably the easiest thing you have to do right here. Give it one chain to turn, and then what do? Single crochets all the way across. Again, easiest thing, right? So the white, the second one is just single crochet all the way across here. And actually, I don't have a written pattern for this because I have no idea how to write about going between these two. I don't know how to write a pattern that would indicate that. So if you know how to write a pattern and you know how to tell me to do that, it would be great. Because I just don't know. I'm not a big pattern person, which is why I do concept crochet. Because in concept crochet, I think about concepts. What do I need to have done that does this or that? How do I accomplish this effect? And that's what my crocheting really is. It's like, I want it to look like this. What do I have to do to make it look like that? So that, and I do a lot of this kind of thing, theme and variations. It's like, oh, what if I change it like this or that? And so that's kind of what we're doing, especially on this one. Okay, almost there. If it were longer, I would have shut it off. But this is just very simple. You're just doing single crochets all the way across. And when you get to the end, remember that this is, oh, let me get that one. Come on. Give it up there. All right, now I pulled this just a little tight. So the very end one is kind of tight here, which I hate doing with a plastic crochet hook because sometimes they break. I've broken a lot of them. Why do I keep getting plastic ones? Because they're so much cheaper, but then they do break, so really not cheaper in the long run, are they? Okay, so we've got it to this point. We're just going to wrap it and pull through, and boy, I really did get that tight. So be careful about tightening them up too much. All right, now what we're going to do on this one, here's the concept. So we're at this point, we need to, it does get a little tangly with all the threads over here, but there's only two different colors you're working with, so it's not too bad. All right, so at this point, now our concept is, don't lose the loop. All right, the concept is we've got to go through, we're going to maintain the 3 here, but then we're going to have to hook to this. So this time, when we do our chains, we've got to chain, and then we're going to hook it together with a single crochet. And then we'll chain a few more. So if we have 7 chains here, that means we've got 3 down, 1 single crochet, and then 3 up. And then this is going to be a double crochet, so we can, I'm going to actually add, that's 1, 2, like I said, I like to turn with 2. If you want to use the actual chain up 3 and use the chain 3 as your first stitch, that's fine, but I usually do 2, and then I do 3 double crochets here, 1 in each of these that are above the other ones from a previous round. The stripy yarn, I like it, but it does split a lot. I hear that the reason yarn splits like that is because it's made for knitting instead of crochet. I only got 1 of them. Let's try that again. It's made for knitting instead of crocheting, and when you crochet, you go a different direction, evidently, than when you knit. So when the yarn is spun on there, on the spool, it goes in the opposite direction than what is really needed for crocheting. So, didn't know that. But then if you're left-handed, maybe you turn it the right direction or something. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. So, okay, we're at this point. We got our 3 double crochets, And so we've got one. Boy, I really am having trouble with this one today. It's because of the plastic hook. You know, it's like when you've typed on a keyboard on your computer a lot, and then you get a new keyboard, you can't type. So I can't crochet today, evidently. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go down here and hook it. We're not actually hooking into it. Got a lot of tails here. Okay, we're just hooking around it. And we're just going to do a single crochet. And then do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And that brings us up here. And at this point, we're going to do a double crochet. If you want to count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're in the 5th one. That should, theoretically, be above this one. That should work out. If it doesn't, something's goofy. It's supposed to. It's supposed to work right. Then you do 3 of them, just like before. Then we do our 3 chains. 1. Boy, I don't know what's going on with this. Okay, this is getting really weird. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You know, it's like those game shows you go on. You can be really good at answering all the questions when you're sitting at home, but when you do it on camera, it's a little different. 1, 2, 3. So doing everything on camera is different. Okay, and again, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th one. Wait, it slipped. Sorry, got to keep that because it's double crochet. And there we go. We do 3 of those. And then we have our last X for me. 1, 2, 3. Go down and catch this with a single crochet. Pull through. 1, 2, 3. Try that. 3. There we go. And then we'll hold the double crochet. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one. And if you did it right, you should just have 2 more stitches to do to finish that one out. And before you pull through the last one, you check to make sure, okay, this is not the end with all the tails. So yeah, we're going to keep the same color. This time we're going to do single crochets. So we do chain 1 to turn, and then we just do single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Well, it's hooked on something. There it is. And it's not hooked on phonics. All right. So you've got those 3. We did those. Now we've got this one captured here on this side. See, we've captured that one. But on this side, this one's still loose. So we just do the same thing we just did. 1, 2, 3. Down here. Do a single crochet around it. 1, 2, 3. And these are single crochets this time, so 3 single crochets here. 1, 2, 3. And there we have it. Now we've captured this, and we've captured the one on the back. As you can see, there's a place in between. All right, this place in between is where we're going to work with the white, because what the next row is going to be is digging in here and making this come up to the top with white. So we're going to fill it up with white. And that's how we, you know, just like we did down here, we're doing the same thing up here to fill in between these. So we're going to be working between, and you have to make sure that you get in there. And this is where it does get tricky, because you want to make sure you're not getting the one that has the blue in it already. You want to make sure you get that first one by itself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then I'll come back and we'll do the white together. Okay? Okay, we've got all of them done. I'm here at the very last stitch on this row, and I wanted to remind you it's going to be a single crochet. You just go through, pull this through, but before you don't use this, you want to change over to your white. So just remember, this is how we're changing our colors. Change over to the white. Make sure it's not pulling too much over here, because you don't want to have it too hard. Tighten it just a little bit so it holds it. Now, we're going to do the concept that we did before. We want to go through and we want to have drop downs. So the drop downs are going to go in here, in between. But that means that up on top, we're just going to have regular single crochets, just so we don't get too high as we're doing this. You don't want it too tall or it won't fit. Okay, so we've got our 3. Now, here's where we're going to do the double wrap, which is a triple crochet. And then we've got to dig down in here and make sure we don't get the blue one with the blue in it already. Get this first stitch. Make sure you've got the back on the back and the front on the front, and you're not going through either one of them. There's a lot of trickiness to that, but if you can master that, the rest of it's easy. There's one. We do it again. There's 4 times. We're going to do that. So we do 4 times. It can be really easy to grab that, and we want to make sure we don't grab the back stitch, the back chain, or the front chain. So be careful of those. Okay. We go to this one. It getting down in there can be. And then we have one more. So we do get down in there. And again, we want to make sure we don't get the one that has this on it too. So we just want to and there we are. Now we've got to attach it with a single crochet up here at the top. We're going to do these 3 single crochets, 2 and 3. Okay, so there we've got this first one done. Now we have it so that it looks like this. It goes all the way across, and we've got our X. It's a little tighter X than I had on the other ones, but it works fine. And on the back, we have the back. Looks the same. We've still got our X. The only difference is because the one goes at the top of a double crochet, and over here it goes on the bottom of the double crochet. It looks different, you know, it slightly, but it's really not that different when you're looking at it. Most people won't notice, except other, you know, crocheters probably. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We just do a double wrap, which is a triple crochet, and then we get down in here, and yeah, I lost one of my wraps. There we go. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, go down here, which is why it's called a triple crochet. 1, 2, 3. And we go down here and get this. 1, 2, 3. And then we do it again. Go down here. Get this. And 1, 2, 3. We have 4 stitches now. And be careful because it is easy to not get all four. It's easy to maybe get an extra one in there sometimes. You just have to be careful. I don't know, I've done them both. You know, when you do so many of them, you're bound to mess up somewhere along the line. That's what makes it handmade. If it was machine made, it wouldn't do that, but where's the fun in that, right? Okay, so we've got our 3, and then we do the same thing in the very last one. We wrap twice, dig down in here, and there we go. Okay. Find the next one. And the last one. Come on. The end ones, I think, are the hardest to avoid the chains. It's too easy to get the chains caught up in them. But after you do it a few times, a few dozen times, you'll get the idea. Okay, let's try that one again. I need to pull yarn out. Okay. Again, when you get to the last one, always check before you pull through. Okay, not a problem. It's not the side with all the things. And then we're going to chain one so we can turn. So you get that turn chain in there. Now, we look at this, we see what we've got. We've got it double-sided. We've got our X's, we've got our O's, we've got both sides. You know, this is the front side, so it does look a little bit better. In my opinion, I like this pattern better. But hey, maybe you like this one better. It's a slightly different look because you got most of the double crochet here above instead of below. But that's okay. Both sides look cool. So anyway, that's what we've got done. And we have, on this one, all we do is just a return single crochet all the way across for all of them. And it's at this point that if you wanted a little extra buffer in it, you could add more rows across. You could add a different color if you needed to. Just, there are variations that you could do. Alright, so let me finish this. So there we have it. This is the entire repeat, and all you have to do then is start all over. Once you get to this point, you can either add more white, more of the background here, or you can just start in with the next row being the blues, and you just go with the setting it up where you have the 3 single crochets, and then you have a chain of 7, 3 single crochets, chain of 7. And that's what we have. That's our pattern. So this is our theme, and as the name of this video is, theme and variations. So this is the XO theme. Let's look some variations. The first thing I wondered is, what if we took the same thing and we extended, instead of just having 3, we had more in between? Well, it ends up looking kind of like this. So I thought that was kind of neat. Each end would still have only 3, but then you'd have this X, and if you had this extended, you could extend it this far, you could extend it even farther, and then have another X, and then the ending on the other side of the Afghan would be this. You could have this repeat pattern be, a repeat several times across, or you could just have this part of it be, extended across most of the Afghan. So again, it makes it look different. When you look at the two, it's like, well, that's not at all the same. So yeah, this is a variation. So that's one possible variation. Here's another possible variation. If you just take single crochets all the way through, and instead of having any double crochets here when you're doing this top pattern, the X pattern, then just have single crochets, and it makes it tighter together. And then here I put an extra background, 2 rows of background. But whenever I did it, I always do in rows of 2, so it always ends up over here. Here's your ending, And then when you put a border on it, the border is going to it's just a regular single crochet border. And I usually go around twice to make it look a little nicer. And it covers all of these. As you're going through, you just make sure that you're covering them all, and it ties it up really nice, and it's, you don't have to spend all that time weaving them in. So that's another variation. Here's another variation still. This one is another variation. And this one was a little trickier, I gotta admit, and I messed up over here, so don't look at that. But this one is where I left a little bit of space. I wanted to make it so that there was no green in between. What I had to do was I added some, you know, the blues here, I have those, but I have green loops here that allowed me to skip over that, and that way I could drop down with the blue and just work, and it had no green in it. So that's what I did on that one, but it involved, well, I don't know what they're called. I had to wrap around 3 or 4 times. So I think I had to wrap around 3 times. So whatever the quadruples, or I don't know, but that's what I had to do on that one. And then this one I thought, well, what if we don't do anything and we just leave it like this? Well, that's another possibility, and you could use this, maybe only have it part of the way, not as much as this, but you could put ribbons through here. You know, it'd be easy to weave some kind of ribbon throughout this that would look really nice. And maybe you have this solid and this, you know, there's just all kinds of variations you can do when you do this stuff. This one is kind of a test pattern that I did because I wanted to see, well, what happens if you take a similar idea. What if you put both of the chains on the same side and then you put something in the middle, like a popcorn stitch or something like this. This is a bobble stitch. I did 2 bobble stitches, and then I thought, well, let's see what happens if we just do the regular single crochet. Well, that's what you get there. So that's a possibility too. You know, you can do that kind of thing. And see, I had the extra in the middle. There's just a lot of variations you can do once you get one theme, if you understand the concepts that you're working with. Sometimes there are some patterns that I have to follow exactly, and when I follow them exactly, I get a good result, but you know, there's so much I just kind of think, what if I did something different? And when I understand the concept of what I'm doing, then it makes it easier for me to do this kind of thing. And so I wanted to present you with the concept of what this particular design was. That way, when you're doing a full afghan, then you just add a few little design elements. And the concept on this was just to add some stripes of varying sizes. I had this stripe, which was smaller. That was just one, you know, once over and once back. And then I had this that was wider. I think I had 16 stripes in this, 16 rows. So there'd be 8 over and 8 back. And then in the middle, I just ended up having a big section of white just to kind of pull both sides together to separate them, and then I repeated the pattern again. And one of the things I did with this particular pattern is I did an opposite color. So instead of just having the white background with the blue, I did the blue background with the white, and that was just a little more variation, just to kind of add a little spice. As you can see here, all I did with the border was just 2 single crochet rows. That was it all the way around. I used the stripe color because I thought that was kind of a nice pop on it, the darker color to kind of hold it all in, and that's all I did. So there you go. That's the theme and variations. So I want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and you'll come back for more. See y'all later.